I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
That's right, your fail-safes failed, and I mean that almost for the entire world right now. As we are talking CW Season 5 of Supergirl, Episode 15, Reality Bites. So many things happened this episode, so much to talk about. Supergirl went back to its original social commentary form. If you don't know who I am, then you don't know Supergirl. I am your host. My name's Tehran, and of course, I am coronavirus quarantined ready. Ryan, are we clear? Can we be clear? Have we quarantined the room?
We have quarantined the room. We are incredibly impressed, though, by every. Oh, the mask is coming off.
Finally. Wait! What? I thought you said all the windows were closed.
They're closed.
No.
They're closed.
No, it's the only time. Listen, it's not like this is a laughing matter. However, it is time to make comedy out of tragedy. That's what we do best, especially myself since I'm a comedian. But nothing is comedic about this episode of CW Supergirl Season 5, Episode 15, Reality Bites, because we got that social commentary, and this week's social commentary was, of course, regarding trans-related assaults and attacks, and trans hate. And it's an episode which reminds me and is reminiscent of Season 1 and 2, where we did have an approach with Supergirl where we talked about real-world issues. Of course, at the time of taping, I'm sure coronavirus wasn't the concern. We will get to that in news and gossip as we break down this week's episode. We will be breaking it down as thus. Dreamer and director Vox, Kara's date. Of course, Kara finally goes on that date that we've been waiting but not really waiting for. DeOh misses Alex, Alex misses DeOh. Angus, worst name, worst kind of person. Virtual Vegas escape room. Of course, we get that whole escapade with my man Trevor, who went missing. Had a great brother, because I don't think my brother would go looking for me. Kara's dad's dead. And that's something where it's as if this keeps happening to Kara. And of course, so much more. We have a special segment, Supergirl, where we choose the shero of a Supergirl who's actually making an impact on the world. And considering everything that's going on, we will be making the shero. All the doctors and the nurses, not every hero wears a cape, but definitely a lot of them are wearing scrubs right now. We do have news and gossip and some predictions where I pull out that crystal ball and much more. You're going to want to stay tuned. Let's talk some Supergirl. And there's no way getting around the main attraction of this week, which is the trans-related attack, as we saw on Yvette, Nia's roommate, as Gregory Bauer, who was a member of a hate group, basically catfished his way in to attacking Yvette simply because she said she knew Nia as Dreamer, and that's the main thing. So that's the meat. We'll get to that at the end because there's no way of getting around that, and there's so much of a scope for that. So let's talk about a lot of the side stories that happened this week. Of course, Kara's date. We get Kara going on a date. I don't know if we've been waiting for this date. As I've mentioned before, I'm not super a fan of just Kara's relationship. And it's because we got Kara last week with her real life husband. And so we see that online chemistry. So seeing her on a date with William, I don't know if that's like something we've been waiting for, but they've been building up to it. We've been looking forward to something happening, and yet nothing really happened. They go to the pool hall, and there's a specific lack of chemistry. I think the show needs to be aware of it between William and Kara. Even when they play pool and Kara insinuates it's her first time playing pool, she comes off as if she doesn't know. And then, of course, on her first hit, she gets all the balls get into all the pockets, and William's waiting to show how great of a pool shark that he is. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, are we really excited about this date? I was shipping, and this is where I will admit my fault. I was shipping William and Kara early, simply because It was a cute new thing. Kara hadn't been on a date for a while, as she states in this episode. She hasn't been on a date for 2 years. And I wanted William and Kara. It looked good. But then they dragged it out too long and they made William so much in the friend zone that it's actually, I don't even like to see it. Who I really want to see dating again is Nia and my main man, Brainy. Why are these two not together? How have we not figured that out? That's where, honestly, I don't know if there's real fireworks for those two offset, but on set, there's this big chemistry. Every time they're on the screen, we scream for them to be together. And that's a testament to the acting prowess of both characters. I mean, honestly, they have this thing between them that makes us like those two together. Why can't we see Brainy and Nia? That's the date that I've been waiting for. That's the relationship that they've dragged out of them breaking up. Let's get it together. Dreamer and director Docs, that's how she approaches Brainy when they see each other. And you can see, you can feel it. That part is as 3D as it gets. You can feel the tension in the room when these two are on screen. It's like, hey, why aren't they together? Please just put them together. You even see it when Kara contacts Brainy as the director of the DEO to help her in the investigation for Dreamer. You can see the concern on Brainy's face. He's so ready. He's like, I'll do whatever it takes. Shows up. Is just her savior, her protector, her hero. Not that Dreamer of all people needs one, but that's a true sign of affection and love. That's something there, and we want that. We love those two. And if you are on board with this, let me know. Hashtag, are you down for Kilmer? That's what are we shipping Kara and William? Let's call them Killiam. Are we Killiam? Hashtag Killiam. Or are you still on board with Brainy and Nia? Brainia, hashtag Brainia. Which one do you prefer? I'd love to hear from you because, especially at times like this, you all at home are more so, if not as much, a part of this panel as everyone. And I would love to say in studio, but we're basically just in my home as we're talking live. It doesn't get better than this. This is our dedication and commitment to AfterBuzz, to our programs that we love, and to all of you, the panel members out there that aren't in studio, but we love just as much. Thank you so much for being on board. Stay healthy. Give us that 5-star rating we so greatly deserve. Subscribe, like, share, spread the word, share the love, and make sure we make the world a better place. Thank you for making us the ESPN of TV talk. Do I get a ding, Ryan? No, not now.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same, Ryan. It's not the same. But you are still the same Ryan, which is great to see.
We're still here. We're all still here.
And we appreciate all of you because I know behind the scenes you've put together, you've done a lot of work and put together a studio that allows us to come through to everyone live through our computers at home. So thank you so much for making that happen. Because if it was up to me, nothing would get done. All right, let's talk about the DEO and Alex. Alex is missing the DEO, working, of course, with John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, has this new weapon, which is a Martian weapon, which creates or manifests basically what Alex is thinking. It's be careful what you wish for because Alex is not able to utilize the weapon on her wrist as much as she'd like to. There's a bonding process, apparently Martian technology. And I would also dare say to go as far and say that Martian technology probably doesn't work or interface with human bodies as well as it would with Martians. Why would it? Martians are telekinetic, telepathic. Humans are neither, or at least while we're using only 20% of our brains, we're neither. Who knows what happens when we use 100% of our brains? Ryan uses 100% of his heart. So I don't know what the weapon is exactly. We haven't given it a name. However, we do know that there's a bonding process, that there's this manifestation power to it. It creates, as far as we can tell right now, all it makes for Alex is a gun. However, I'm assuming that it will go far and beyond this in measures in which we have not learned yet. I don't know why more people don't have this. Why don't Martians share their technology with us and make the world a better place, especially since we're in the one dimension? However, furthermore, Alex is clearly missing her DEO and DEO role and who she feels. I mean, this is a person who's given and dedicated a majority of her life to working in one field and is now had that taken from her. So I feel for Alex on that part. I also feel for Alex because Alex and Kelly seem to be apart. And I like that we kind of got back to their relationship, talking about relationships that we kind of miss. I was not for Alex and Kelly. And now as it goes on, I like their love a lot more because it's about respect more than lust. It has a quality that's truly affectionate, and I like seeing them together. So it's nice to see Alex not be lonely and have Kelly in her background and in her corner. So having that, we like to see more Kelly. I'm suggesting this to the writers. I know a lot of you watch this after show, so please take this into account. Us, the audience, like Kelly and Alex, and we especially like Kelly's character. We want her to be this unique, strong character that she was set up for from the beginning, and it's nice to see it carry on in the few snippets that we do. We would like to see more. That's another couple that we missed. So here we get Kelly working for Obsidian, of course, still working for Andrea, trying to finalize and refine the Obsidian Platinum that's supposed to be rolled out. But we see that there's a huge bug. The first guy who goes in at the beginning of the episode has a huge problem, can't get out. There's a malfunction on the failsafe. Basically, Mr. Bates is saying, your failsafe failed. I said end. He wanted to end it. It didn't work. Then the failsafe button, as he reached for it, disappeared. And then you see that ominous nurse that comes at the end and basically takes them and takes them away into what we see at the end as that body lab, where I'm assuming that everyone who the product Obsidian doesn't work with is taken to this lab, not for research, but for some type of ominous, dark research and discovery, and not to allow or reallow them into the public domain where they could discredit Obsidian. That's something that's very dangerous. I do not think Kelly is fully aware, but she does have an inkling because she keeps seeing this nurse and repetition. So we get that storyline coming in, and that is hand in hand with the virtual Vegas, the escape room. That's where Trevor, Al's brother, goes missing, hires or utilizes John and Alex to go find them. Alex is on the trail in the virtual world while John is in the trail in what could only be seen as the real world, using his telepathic powers to track down Trevor's movements, goes to a house, finds out that Trevor is basically having a virtual affair with Greg's wife. That's where it all starts. Now, Ryan, I don't know what your opinion is, but I want to know everyone's opinion, including yours.
Yeah.
Do you think that virtual cheating is the same thing as cheating? So in our worlds, it's cheating online, Instagram, social media, Facebook, anything like that. The two people have never actually met up in real life. In Supergirl, it was in Obsidian, in the virtual reality world that was created. Is that a form of cheating?
That is a form of cheating for some women.
I would love to hear this. Yes, continue. So only some women would see that as a form of cheating?
And some men, but I would say across the board, it depends on what activity goes on virtually. So is there, if there's certain exposures to the body, yes. But if not...
Well, we had seen something of this nature in Black Mirror. If you remember, there was an episode in which there was a virtual world and two best friends found a type of passion within each other.
That's right.
That they did not have in the real world because of their sexuality, but they realized that in the virtual world, with the change of gender, all of a sudden there was a passion there.
That's
there was
right.
a very interesting notion and idea that actually took a lot of the world by storm. People were very polarized on this subject. And so when it comes to virtual reality, we see that Gregory Bauer, who's the husband, Gregory Bauer's the attacker of Nia. I apologize. What we see is that the husband, who's a computer engineer, is really upset about this VR affair. And he creates this room to keep Trevor entrapped and blows him up over and over again, which leads, of course, Kelly to think about the morality and the ethical concerns about Obsidian, because there's a lot of things that we're not aware of, and this is actually a point once again to social commentary. Is that in the real world there are a lot of things online where the laws haven't caught up to online, where we now see laws regarding bullying and things like that, shaming, defamation of character, libelous, catching up online. Uh, a very similar concept would happen virtually if we had this virtual world and there were loopholes in it. It'd be very, very scary. Um, because Trevor, unbeknownst to him, he's trapped in this room and he can't get out. And when Alex is sent in, she gets trapped in this room, and Kelly is made aware of these loopholes and is going to bring it up to Andrea. But of course, the nurse comes, intervenes at the end, and takes the body of the husband away. So it's just one of those things where I would like to know if at home, if everyone thinks that it's cheating, if you cheated in virtual reality, are you cheating on your partner? Because that's something that's probably going to be a concern in the future. One of the things a lot of people discuss is how social media has made cheating on your partner extremely easy because of all the access. So is cheating, if you're dating someone and you're flirting with someone else on Instagram, Ryan, would you consider that cheating?
If I was flirting with someone over Instagram,
Yes, and you were in a relationship with a young lady
you know,
or
I
a
honestly,
young male.
I honestly, I honestly would not consider that cheating with a young lady. No,
Wow, yeah, you're a dog, Ryan.
although I'm
You're
a
a piece of
dog.
mess. It's too late. It's too
Oh,
late. It's too late. You are
okay.
the sweetest guy. I'm very disappointed. You're the sweetest guy. By the way, I'm a huge flirt. I'm a huge flirt. So I'm the worst person, but I'm also not in a specific relationship. But would you feel that if your partner, the person you were dating, was flirting with someone on Instagram, would you consider her to be cheating?
I would at first assume the best. Oh, she was just trying to get a few more followers. She was just trying to get a few more likes. But then I would look into the DMs and see just how much they were sliding.
It goes down in the DM. And the thing about it is, it's the way it's done. Also, if it's spread out, it's not as bad as if it's targeted. We all feel that in a lot of ways. It's an unfortunate resonance of our personalities, where we also, oftentimes as humanity, we get jealous and insecure. So why put a strain on that bond? It's about respect, and that's ultimately what we see. However, I don't think that the computer engineer husband was warranted in his actions, just to be very honest. I mean, this guy basically trapped this guy, Trevor, in a room and kept having him blow up over and over again. But at the end, of course, Alex does come to the rescue, saves him with the help of John in the real world as Alex is in the virtual world, and they make this happen. So at the end, we also get the bad piece of news that Alex and Kara's mom has found their dad, or Jeremiah, as Kara says, in respect out of her parents from Krypton. Kara's dad is dead, and I'm sure that's going to be a much more meaningful thing we need to decipher as we go forward. Now, let's get to the meat and the heart of this week's episode, which is Angus, the attacks on Yvette and Nia for being trans. And that's something where we have to be very aware of this type of prejudice that exists, where even now in the world, and it's so sad to say that in 2020 we know that sexism exists, racism exists, but we have to understand that transphobia does exist, and it's a problem. And just because it doesn't affect the majority of us doesn't mean that it's not a slippery slope, and it doesn't affect all of us, because that's how humanity works. We are all tied together. Everyone's problems is all of our problems, and vice versa. In fact, we have headline after headline of attacks in New York, in Los Angeles, in every major city where they're actually reported. And even then, the attacks are misreported all the time, as William points out in this episode, because of the misgendering by those taking the reports. We see this, and we still live in a world where South Dakota may decide to criminalize trans attacks. still, we're in that world right now. So the basic story is Angus, which is an alias for Gregory Bauer, befriends Yvette on Upswingz, which is their version of Tinder or Grinder or whichever app that anyone's using to find a partner. And Yvette, of course, as most people do, that's another tag to social commentary, is she exaggerates her friendship with Dreamer in order to get more responses, and we see that on this episode. That attack by Gregory was clearly transphobic. We see the note specifically attacks the angry attack of Yvette outside the club after she's basically in this emotional relationship. So we do see that there is an emotional component to an online relationship. The two had never met. Yvette goes to a club to meet Angus, is attacked outside. Angus, by the way, just to let you know, if there's ever a black guy you meet online named Angus, he's not real. That's not a real name. Like the picture of Angus was this good-looking black guy, and then of course Gregory Bauer, who was actually very good-looking, besides the bigotry that was in his heart that made him the ugliest person ever. Basically, is this good-looking white guy who stands outside, and Yvette gets attacked and is given a note: the world doesn't want a trans superhero, so crawl back from the rock you came from, or I'll keep attacking people like you. Wow, that's just a horrid response for Greg. And we see later that, of course, that response seems, at least in my opinion, comes from the fact that Greg had an attraction to Dreamer as a superhero, and then later Dreamer is revealed to be trans, and it makes Gregory question his own sexuality and his own self identity. When none of that's actually a case, that seems to be ego versus pride, seems to be a security issue. It seems to be something that Gregory needs to define within himself and not within Nia or Dreamer for simply living her life and being who she is. That's a problem that happens. We see a lot of that when it comes to trans hate. The idea that a lot of the concept of trans attack is that we feel like the world should all fit in a box. And I'll tell you firsthand that boxes are meant for things and not people. Stop trying to fit things in a box, and if they don't go like the circle to the hole and the square to the peg, if they don't fit, stop trying to squish them in there. Sometimes things are just the way they are, and we need to let that go. It does not ever resonate with me when people are like, well, that's what she or he is. Who cares what pronoun someone uses? Is the person a good person? That should matter more. Are they fans of Supergirl? That's the most important question of them all. That's how you know if someone's a good person or not. So basically, that hate came from within. Gregory took it out on Yvette, but then of course Dreamer, who gives Kara and friends 36 hours to a couple hours, 3 hours to figure it out, basically goes into her own vigilante mode and is able to catch Gregory because it's reported on the show. Most trans attacks are not being helped. Police do not give it a priority. These are big issues, and definitely a form of social commentary coming from Supergirl. So we get Dreamer, who's basically going ham on Gregory Bauer. She uses the shock, she uses the whip, she's choking him, and if Carr doesn't intervene, we don't know how far, what lengths Dreamer would have went to. But I can understand the anger. However, that's the thing about being a hero. Being a hero means you always do the right thing, even if it's not easy. And actually, especially when it's not easy. So I understand where Nia is coming from, all the anger and hate and self guilt she was feeling, and she feels like she's the protector of her community. But at the same time, that's not the best way to handle it. Had Nia basically attacked Gregory, she would be in some ways justifying his evil bigotry and playing into the idea of hate, because that's what hate wants to do. Hate wants to be contagious, and the more you let it, the more hate there is. Do not allow it to be the coronavirus of our hearts. Did you like what I did there, Ryan? I know you did. I know you did.
That was great.
Thank you. Let's get into our special segment, shall we? Supergirl,
Ta-da!
She Rose.
Gene Sanders.
Is that uh, was that the music?
That's the music. As for now, I am the instrument.
Wow.
You can try and play me, but I'm going to make a tune.
I appreciate you so much. So what we do know is that the healthcare future is female. Big shout out to all the female healthcare workers as they are our sheroes this week, especially with the epidemic, pandemic, panicdemic that's going on. We know that even into 2017, we realized that basically 60% of physicians under the age of 35 are female. And that's the future as we see a surge of female physicians, even in places like Italy and Iran, which are being attacked with coronavirus. It's an overwhelming number in Iran, it's 70%, overwhelming number of female doctors and health workers that are dealing with these problems, as if women haven't done enough. And the idea, even when I was young, there was this basically this joke or this uh, this game people would play where it basically there was a car crash and a son and his father were taken to the hospital. The father dies and the son is in critical condition, and the whole thing was the surgeon walks in and says, "I cannot operate on this patient because he is my son." And the whole thing, the whole mystery was that people couldn't realize that the surgeon was the patient's mother. That was how much misogyny in the medical and healthcare profession, let alone the world, exists or existed in our minds. Now, of course, we realize that there is becoming, especially, a majority of female healthcare workers and female doctors, surgeons. Even in my own family, most of the doctors in my family are all the women. My sisters, my cousins are the doctors. So thank you so much to all the female doctors who are honestly out there saving the world. Do we get any music after that,
Ta-da!
or that's okay? I'm gonna really need you to stop that. Right?
Okay.
You've become the worst. You've become the worst.
Sorry.
As we're talking more Supergirl, let's get into some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV news.
Of course, much of the Arrowverse has been shut down due to the coronavirus and the coronavirus epidemic. A lot of filming has stopped. So we are getting a shutdown of entireties of productions, including Supergirl, The Flash, Batwoman. A lot of these shows have basically shut down. So we don't get to see a lot of how things are going to play. We don't know exactly how it's going to affect this season. However, we are most certain it will affect the timetable of next season and when it comes out. So be aware of that. We might have to wait a little longer for more Supergirl, considering we have the coronavirus and we also have Melissa Benoit, who is technically pregnant and will be giving birth at the same similar time. By the way, not a quarantine baby, as many of your kids will be. So we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully, it won't affect us that much, but it seems like it will affect us and keep affecting us as time goes on. Let's get into some predictions. As I pull out my crystal ball, were you going to do a song? Do the song.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Thank you, Ryan. So as I pull out this crystal ball of what we're going to do, let's talk about what it seems to be happening. We cannot just let the news of Kara's dad being dead play and it have no effect. Also, we have this ominous nurse who's collecting bodies. That will be a play in which I believe Kelly will find the bodies, figure out that there's something dark and devilish about Obsidian, and of course have to go to Alex, and we get a play on Luther, Lena, Andrea as her powers are emerging versus the super team, Supergirl, Alex, Dreamer. Brainy comes back into the fold we find out, I'm still all about them finding out that Brainy is playing both sides. I cannot let that down. Brainy seems to be not comfortable in his role as director, even though he's aptly handling it. Alex needs to go back to the DEO, and I think that happens very soon. And also, I think that we get a big fight in the virtual world as opposed to the real world, and it will play out very much like a Lawnmower Man, which is an old movie, an oldie but a goodie, and I think it plays out like that. Those are my predictions. Of course, if you want to know more about me or my predictions, find me at I Am Tehran all across the board, IAMTEHRAN. And of course, hosting and paneling on a slew of other AfterBuzz after shows, because all of your favorite TV shows are my favorite TV shows too. Ryan, where can people find you?
You can find me at Ryan Nilsson on Twitter. Sorry, I meant to say Tehran Supergirl After Show on Twitter, which sent this link out. It's getting a lot of traction. It's an incredible Twitter account. You should definitely follow it, Tehran Supergirl After Show. That's
right. And while the pandemic is going on, we will still be with you each and every week talking all your favorite TV shows. So make sure to tune into AfterBuzz, stay tuned into AfterBuzz, and share AfterBuzz with your friends and family, as we're all in need of content as we're quarantined inside. Stay healthy, stay safe, wash your hands, use your mask. Don't touch your face if you don't have to, especially without washing your hands. Avoid large crowds. And if you have severe symptoms, go to the hospital. Until next time, up, and away.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.